Hey, what's going on? I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching The Sit Down. Look who we got. It's Julie Stiles. Hustlers out on DVD.
Yep.
How's it going? Good to meet you.
Good to meet you, yeah.
So I was telling you, I watched this morning, which is definitely an interesting movie to check out like 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
But just jumped right into it, and it was a lot of fun to check it out.
Oh,
yeah.
good.
I was hiding it on the bus a little bit.
Yeah, hiding the screen from the other passengers.
Exactly.
As they watch like Jennifer Lopez tour. Yeah.
But your character was awesome, and it's somebody that you've read her writing in the past. So what was the intrigue about playing this role?
Oh my God, when I was sent the script, I remembered reading the article about these women when it first came out. So I was already intrigued, and I had been a fan of this journalist for a while. She wrote a bunch of other articles for New York Magazine that are also being turned into TV shows. But so when I spoke to the director, and I read her adaptation, it was like, it was already there on the page. And this is the kind of movie that you could make 5 different versions of, and I just loved the take on it and the perspective. So I told Lorene Scafaria, the director, like, I don't care. She said to me in our interview, she was like, okay, well, if you have any other questions, and I was like, my question is, what do I have to do to be in this movie? Because I loved it, and I just wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because some roles you play, it's not a real person. You really have to make things up. But this is a real person, a real story. Were there challenges in that, or did you like the fact that you could kind of relate the whole thing to somebody who's already out there?
I mean, I like that I've kind of fangirled and got to meet Jessica Pressler, but I told her that I wasn't going to imitate her. That she didn't have to worry. I wasn't going to do like that. I was gonna have to suit the story as a whole and not try and do some imitation of her. But she was a great resource to be able to talk to her and just pick her brain about what really happened and how she got in touch with these women, how she found out about it in the first place, and all the little details that some of which don't end up in the film. It was really nice. What
are some details that didn't end up in there that were pretty interesting to you?
Well, it's not really a detail, it's actually a significant point. But to me, what's really surprising and interesting, and maybe shouldn't surprise me, is that the club was never prosecuted.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Scores.
The scene of the crime.
Yeah, and also like they were skimming money off the backs of these women for a long time and had to have known what was going on in the champagne room, and it was on credit card tabs, like they never were prosecuted.
Right, we're just going to turn off the cameras and, you know, you're not going to talk about this? We kind
of make a joke about it in the film, but my character is interviewing the cops too, who had a sting and ended up arresting the dancers, and they go like, oh, after the first guy came forward and we heard about it, we were so afraid to go back to the club, and my character kind of was like, oh, okay, around, so you were customers too.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on here. I mean, between the women themselves, the men on Wall Street, the police, just like the emotional roller coaster you go on. Like, what was it like for you to watch everybody unpacking those different emotions? It
was really interesting, and it was kind of like an acting class for me, because most of what my character's doing is asking questions and listening, and trying not to react too hardcore because she might make her subject like self-conscious. So I got to watch Constance Wu in these amazing, like, emotional, rich, you know, interesting monologues, basically. My first day on set, I showed up, and it was my interview with Jennifer Lopez's character, and this woman walks on set, and I'm like, who are you, and what have you done with J-Lo? Because my jaw was on the floor. She had completely transformed into this other person.
It's really interesting just because you think about it from a moral perspective, and it's like, yeah, these things that were happening were wrong, but people are desperate, and they're just trying to survive. So that's like this whole little interesting storyline along the way. So what fascinated you the most about what the women were doing and kind of what was happening throughout the story?
Well, I mean, the topic of like strippers and sex workers, prostitutes, whatever, has been throughout film history. But to me, what was fresh and interesting about our movie is something that my character says. She looks at Constance and says, like, I know I'm supposed to feel bad for these guys, but I actually don't. And I'm the person in the film that approaches everything with compassion. So maybe initially she's a little skeptical and reminding these women, like, wait, you were doing what? Like, that's not okay. But then eventually she turns around and quickly comes to, like, kind of understand what they were doing and maybe have some respect for them in terms of them being entrepreneurs. And what we deal with is largely like the economic circumstances that they were in. And
No question.
there's some really effective scenes where they go to apply for other jobs, minimum wage jobs, and not only is it difficult to get that work because they don't have the resumes, but also they're gonna bust their asses for like minimum wage. You know, it makes so much more sense to be doing what they were doing. I mean, you know, financially.
No, I totally understand. I mean, just given the hours that they're putting in, you guys do a good job in the movie showing everybody that's putting their hands in and getting a cut of the money. Like, it's not an easy thing. And like, just the way that we talk about strippers in society, like we don't talk about them being entrepreneurs. We have a much different perspective of it. So what have been the reactions that you've seen that have been most interesting to you, you know, on both sides of the spectrum here?
Yeah, I mean, it's been everything from people loving the movie, but some people being really uncomfortable with, you know, it was interesting before the movie came out when I would just tell my friends and family, like, oh, I'm doing this movie. By the way, I'm not playing a stripper. Don't worry. Some people would go, oh, that sounds really cool. And some people would be like, oh, so they're not very likable. You know, it's provocative, that's for sure.
You're going to get both reactions for sure. And this was like a really quick movie. It was 30 days. Like, when you think about the way this was shot compared to movies even 5 years ago, like, what stands out to you the most about movies today?
Well, it's really hard to get movies like this made in the first place. I know it took the producers a while to get it up off the ground because it's not a giant Marvel movie. It's not like it's not an obvious blockbuster. The subject matter is difficult, even though I think there are a lot of really fun moments in it.